I hope you've had an opportunity to see online the comment that Donald Trump made back in 2017. And I remember this. I remember when he said it. I remember when he said it. He was talking about statues coming down, and he said, these Confederate generals, Robert E. Lee. President Trump made a comment. This was back in 2017 about the removal of the Confederate statues. Because if you remember, the people that hate him often hate him because of Charlottesville. And what he said about Charlottesville in that awful event where an innocent young woman was killed, this guy, the president said, there are good people on both sides of the debate of Confederate statues coming down. There are good people who want the Confederate statues taken down. There are good people who don't want it taken down and don't want statues removed. That got turned into, he thinks there are good people who are Nazis and skinheads and white supremacists. And so back in 2017, he said, well, let me play it for you, and let me play John Oliver's response to what the president predicted could happen in America.
The president's concern seems to be that tearing down statues leads to a slippery slope.
This week it's Robert E. Lee. I noticed that Stonewall Jackson's coming down. I wonder, is it George Washington next week? And is it Thomas Jefferson the week after? You really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop?
Okay, well, I'll tell you where it stops. Somewhere. Anytime someone asks, where does it stop, the answer is always somewhere. You might let your kid have Twizzlers, but not inject black tar heroin. You don't just go, well, after the Twizzlers, where does it stop?
Of course, now we know Trump was right. John Oliver would be forced to admit today, if he had a shred of integrity, maybe he does, Trump was right, and I was wrong. Back in 2017, when President Trump was concerned about George Washington coming down, I mocked him, John Oliver would say in that thick British accent. You know what he'd say now? What would he say now? Well, yeah, I'm Trump was wrong then and he's wrong now. We're watching these statues coming down all over America. They're actually talking about the changing the name of Yale in a real ironic twist. It turns out that Yale wasn't such a good guy when it comes to the issue of slavery in 2020 terms, because that's what we do. We apply what we know now, the hideousness, the stench of slavery, of owning human beings like cattle. And we say in 2020, well, of course, we're repulsed that this was perhaps America's past that was so egregious. So now what we'll do is let's just take down and destroy any vestiges of that terrible, troubled chapter in our nation's history, forgetting that we're the only country on the planet that ended the practice on its own through legislation and through the emancipation of a people who should never have been incarcerated or indentured but now we need to erase all vestiges of it. We're going to control the narrative of America. That's where we are today.